Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna everyone, so thank you so much for coming this morning and giving me the opportunity to share something with you. Pray for your blessings. Maharaj, please give me your blessings. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavallabha Giri Varadhari Jai Radha Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Nitai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Okay. So thank you so much everyone for coming. It's a little bit unconventional, but I'll do this anyway because we're a personal movement. It's my first time in Toronto. Actually, it's not my first time. I came here as a kid 30 years ago, but I don't remember much except Niagara Falls. So yeah, I'm back here for the first time in a long time, and it's really wonderful to be here again in Srila Prabhupada's. One of Srila Prabhupada's embassies. Prabhupada said every one of my temples is like embassies of the spiritual world. So it really is beautiful to be here. And just to be personal, I'll just give you a little bit of a background. Not that I'm anyone great or my life story is incredibly amazing, but just for you to know something as you hear also. I grew up in London. My parents are from India. And I was going to the temple from a young age, but it was very, I guess, ritualistic and very cultural. And when I was about 15, I started having many questions of life, as you do. And so somehow or other, when I was 15 years old, I chanced upon a copy of the Bhagavad Gita, and I began reading it, and it fascinated me. And so my spiritual hunger began growing from there. I started chanting. And that's okay. And then when I was 18, I began university. So I studied at UCL in London in computer science and management. I wanted to study philosophy, but I was convinced to do something that would get me a proper job. So I studied computer science and management, and then I graduated at 21. I had the opportunity to work in London in a graduate position, but decided to do the unthinkable and take some time out and go to India. So when I was 21, I spent 6 months in India at one of the ashrams there that we have, just exploring Krishna consciousness. And lo and behold, I got a different calling in life. And I came back to London and decided to join as a full-time monk in 2002. I didn't think I'd do it for very long, maybe a year, but a year turned into 5, which turned into 10, which turned into 20. And I guess it became my life path. So nowadays I travel the world and in whatever small way I can in pursuance of the desires of Srila Prabhupada to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, be some small instrument in that. And so I come before you today as a small instrument, and I hope I'll be able to share something with you which will be relevant. So I'll do it a little bit different today because you're a very homely audience. We're having a Bhagavatam class, but I'll make it a little interactive. Is that okay? Yeah, don't worry, no pressure, I won't put you on the spot, you can relax, but perhaps we may get more out of it if we do it like this. So today we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, we're reading from canto number 2, and we're reading from chapter number 3, which is entitled Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. And we're going to read a series of verses, and then we're going to focus on verse number 10, as I understand. So I'll do that, and then we'll see where we go. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So what we're going to do, as I said, we'll make it a little interactive. What we're going to do today, before we begin talking about the second canto, third chapter, verse number 10, it's always good to get some context on where we are in the Bhagavatam. So some of you may be familiar that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10 topics are described. In the Bhagavad Gita, how many topics are described? 5, yes. And in the Bhagavatam, you could imagine it's more because it's 18,000 verses compared to 700. So in a very beautiful verse in the second canto, it's mentioned, Atra sargo visargascha stanam poshanamutaya manvantaresha nukatha nirodha muktir ashraya. These are the 10 topics that are described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, different commentators say different things. Some say that all the topics are in all the cantos. Some say each one has a focus. And the original commentator on the Bhagavatam, does anyone know who the original commentator on the Bhagavatam is? Sridhar Swami. Very good, yes. Okay, good. You guys know your stuff. Sridhar Swami wrote a book called Bhavartha Deepika. And in that book, he describes the breakdown of the topics like this. So does anyone know what is the first topic of the Bhagavatam? Sarga, which means primary creation. This is the creation of all the elements, okay? So according to Sridhar Swami, Sarga is contained in canto number 3. That makes sense because for you, or those of you who have read Bhagavatam, there are conversations between Vidura and Maitreya, and it's going into very, very complex elemental creation, the false ego, the mind, the senses, and it's all of those things that pretty much nobody understands, but that we read and then we pray one day that Krishna will actually reveal to us what it all means. So elemental creation, Sarga, is the focus of the third canto. Then the next topic is Visarga. Visarga means Brahma's creation. So first, all the ingredients of the universe have to be created, all the elements, and then Brahma comes together as the engineer. Sometimes we call Brahma the creator, isn't it? But actually, technically, that's not true, because Brahma doesn't actually create anything. Brahma simply engineers it. And so Brahma then takes all of those elements, and then what does he do? He creates the 14 planetary systems, and then he creates all the different species of life, and he does a wonderful job. He creates all this complexity. Of course, there are some personalities in the universe who aren't happy with Brahma, even though he did an incredible job. I mean, you look at the universe, you think it's a pretty good job, but there were some people who criticized him because they said that Brahma, you made a big blunder because you created all these universes and all these species and all this complexity, but you created bodies that have eyes, that have eyelids and blink. And because of that blinking, it means that we can't see Krishna for one moment. And you know who said that, right? The gopis of Vrindavan. So anyway, that's another subject, not for today. But the second topic is Brahma's creation. Then the third topic, Atra Sargo Visargascha Sthanam. Sthanam means the planetary systems. Of course, the world is very, very interested in exploring the universe. India is latest on the list with the mission to the moon. And therefore, the 5th canto of the Bhagavatam is all about the different planetary systems, the hellish planets, and how the universe is structured. Sthanam, and then next topic, Poshanam. Poshanam is nothing to do with the secret potion of the genie or whatever it may be. Poshanam means protection and mercy. Can you think of a person who is protected in the 6th canto, the object of Krishna's protection? Ajamil, because even though he had deviated at the end of his life, what did he say? Narayana, 4 syllables. And 4 Vishnu Dutas came to save him. So Krishna says, I will always. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. My devotee will never perish. So that's all about canto number 6. Then, Poshanam, Sthanam, Poshanam, Utaya. Utaya means, Uti means the creative impetus. What do you think the creative impetus behind everything in this universe is? What causes things to be created? Krishna, but in the material world. Mode of passion, yes. More specifically, what is born? Material desire, lust. As soon as there is lust, Pumsha striya mithuni bhavametam tayoridaya grantimahur ato griha kshetra sutapta vider janasya moho yamaham mameti. As soon as there is attraction between primarily man and woman, and then all the other lust that then proceeds from that, then so many things have to be created in order to satisfy your lust. And so who is the lusty person in canto number 7? That is greedy, that is desirous of so many things. Hiranyakashipu, isn't it? His name, Hiranyakashipu, literally means beds of gold, cushions of gold. So you can already imagine. So this is all about lust and greed and all the material desire that can implicate someone. So that is described in 7. 8 is all about the different manvantaras. 9 is all about Ishanukata. Which activities of incarnations are described in canto number 9? Does anyone remember? Ramachandra, yes. Another one, the violent one. Parashuram, yes. Parashuram, Ram, and then of course all of the family lineages leading up to Krishna, who's then born in the 10th canto, and therefore the 10th canto is all about Ashraya. And if the 10th canto is all about Ashraya, then the 11th canto is about Nirodha, Mukti, liberation. Can anyone guess why the 11th canto is about liberation? There's a very, very famous conversation. Yes. Yes, that's the link, but specifically there's a very, very famous conversation because Krishna is about to leave the universe. Krishna has already given the Bhagavad Gita, but then finally he wants to give the Uddhav Gita. And basically Krishna is telling Uddhav that I'm about to leave the world. Now I want you to take sannyas and I want you to also prepare to leave the world. But I will give you the final instructions of how to release yourself from material entanglement before that moment. And therefore 11 is about mukti, liberation. And 12 is then all about, what's the final topic left? Oh, you forgot the final topic. Sorry? No, Samambonam is Ashraya, the supreme shelter. Nirodha, dissolution, annihilation. Because in the 12th canto is explaining how all the universes are annihilated. It's explaining, you know, what is the famous person who lives through all the annihilations? You remember? Begins with M. Markandeya Rishi, isn't it? So we hear about him. But who's ultimately annihilated in canto number 12? Who's the ultimate person that's annihilated, that is central to the Srimad Bhagavatam? Parikshit. Parikshit is bitten by the snake bird, and therefore it's all about his annihilation also. So this is basically the structure of the Srimad Bhagavatam, but then the $64 million question is, what are cantos 1 and 2 all about then? Does anyone know? If the 10 topics are here, 3 to 12, according to Sridhar Swami, what is cantos number 1 and 2 about? Very, very interesting. Sorry, yeah, you have an idea? Yeah, that was an educated guess. The introduction, yes. He says canto number 1 is all about adhikar, the qualification to hear. Because in canto number 1, we're hearing about Parikshit's desperation. Parikshit comes to that point where he realizes, I only have 7 days to live, and therefore he becomes very, very desperate, very, very desirous to hear spiritual knowledge. There's no point hearing, of course there is a point, but you won't achieve the benefit of hearing Bhagavatam unless there is desperation within you. Unless you really have a desire to learn, unless you become frustrated and you've lost all hope in the material world, you won't really be able to grasp the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And therefore we wonder, why is it that Parikshit learnt it all in 7 days? And you know, I've been trying for 7 years, probably 7 lifetimes, and still somehow it's not sitting there, because the adhikar of the listener is different. Therefore on a Sunday feast, hundreds and hundreds of people will come to hear, but 99% of people will say, great class, and then on Monday morning, business as usual. One time I was giving a class, and at the end of the class, the person said, it was a brilliant class. I said, what did you like about it? He said, you ended on time. So most people, what to say, of course I don't have adhikar as a speaker, so I shouldn't expect too much, but most people don't have adhikar as listeners. Because even when we sit in a class, our mind is in a million places. Even now you're sitting here, but I know you're already planning your day, if not your week ahead. I know, I'm a mind reader. But Parikshit, no, he gave up eating, he gave up drinking, he gave up all activities, and he just sat there, rapt in attention, hearing Bhagavatam. So Sridhar Swami says the first canto teaches you what kind of adhikar of person can understand Bhagavatam. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. Can you drink Bhagavatam? Do you know the art of how to drink the Bhagavatam? Only if you become a rasika, one who has adhikar to listen, adhikar to taste. And canto number 2, according to Sridhar Swami, is about sadhana. Because what is the question that Parikshit asks at the end of the first canto, which the whole Bhagavatam is based on? What is the duty of a person who is about to die? And in the second canto, Sukadev Goswami basically gives the complete answer. You know, like in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says to Krishna right in the first chapter, I'm completely confused, I don't know what to do, now you become my guru. And then what is the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita entitled? Contents of the Gita summarized. So basically Krishna gives all the knowledge in chapter 2. In one sense, Bhagavad Gita can end there, because he's given all the knowledge. But then he spends another 16 chapters unpacking it. So in the same way, Parikshit asks his question in canto number 1, and in canto number 2, Sukadev Goswami basically gives all the answers. In one sense, in the first 3 chapters of second canto, Bhagavatam is already finished. It's actually said that when Parikshit asked his question, Sukadev Goswami was so enthusiastic to answer that he forgot to do a Mangalacharan. You know, like when you get on the seat to give a Bhagavatam class, imagine you're so inspired to speak that you just start speaking without doing the invocation. If you look in the Bhagavatam, that's what Sukadev Goswami does. And in 3 chapters, he gives the full answer, and then he realizes, oh my God, I didn't do the Mangalacharan. So in the 4th chapter, he actually does a Mangalacharan, and then he goes a little slower. But actually, he gives the complete sadhana to Parikshit of how he can attain perfection. So now you know the whole structure of the Bhagavatam. It's very, very simple. This is a very, very beautiful way in which Sridhar Swami has explained it to us. Before I move on, does anyone have any question on this? Is it clear for you? Yeah? Okay? Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, the Bhagavatam, the topics of the Bhagavatam are standardized, but what happens is that in different planetary systems, there are different sizes of the Bhagavatam. And even on this planetary system, Krishna explained the whole Bhagavatam to Brahma in how many verses? 4. 4 verses. Tene Brahma Rida Ya Adi Kavaye Bhuyanti Yat Surayaha. So if you unpack those 4 verses, then you can basically see all of these topics within those 4 verses. And similarly, it's said that in heavenly planets, there are Bhagavatams whose length is hundreds and thousands of verses. Yeah. Imagine doing a Bhadra Purnima campaign there, distributing 300 sets of like 100,000 verses each. Could be challenging, you know. What to speak about distributing it? What about reading it? That would be difficult. It's actually said that Krishna has an incarnation in each of the 8.4 million species of life. Yeah, we only hear like, okay, a tortoise, a fish. You think, why just a tortoise? No, Krishna is in all the species. But in our Bhagavatam, we're just getting a taster, just a taster. But yes, there are bigger Bhagavatams, and in them you hear even more. Yeah, that's true. That's true, it's amazing. Okay, so we are reading today from chapter number 3, Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. So as I understand, the way we're doing is we're just reading the translations up until 10, and then the verse and translation. Okay, so this is text number 1. Sri Sukadev Goswami said, Maharaj Parikshit, is this big enough for you? Do you want me to make it bigger? Does that help? The glories of technology. Maharaj Parikshit, as you have inquired from me as to the duty of the intelligent man who is on the threshold of death, so I have answered you. Okay, this is a long translation, so stay with me. One who desires to be absorbed in the impersonal Brahmajyoti effulgence should worship the master of the Vedas, Lord Brahma or Brihaspati, the learned priest. One who desires powerful sex should worship the heavenly king, Indra, and one who desires good progeny should worship the great progenitors called the Prajapatis. One who desires good fortune should worship Durga Devi, the superintendent of the material world. One desiring to be very powerful should worship fire, and one who aspires only after money should worship the Vasus. One should worship the Rudra incarnations of Lord Shiva if he wants to be a great hero. One who wants a large stock of grain should worship Aditi. One who desires to attain the heavenly planet should worship the sons of Aditi. One who desires a worldly kingdom should worship Vishvadev, and one who wants to be popular with the general mass of population should worship the Sadhya demigod. If you want to become big on Instagram, worship the Sadhya demigod. One who desires a long span of life should worship the demigods known as the Ashwini Kumaras, and a person desiring a strongly built body should worship the earth. One who desires stability in his post should worship the horizon and the earth combined. One who desires to be beautiful should worship the beautiful residents of the Gandharva planet. And one who desires a good wife should worship the Apsaras and the Urvashi society girls of the heavenly kingdom. One who desires domination over others should worship Lord Brahma, the head of the universe. One who desires tangible fame should worship the personality of Godhead. And one who desires a good bank balance should worship the demigod Varuna. If one desires to be a greatly learned man, he should worship Lord Shiva. And if one desires a good martial, my God, no, not martial. You shouldn't become martial. A good marital relation with no martial exchanges should worship the chaste goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. So now you know what you have to do today. Is it? No. Read on. Don't stop there. One should worship Lord Vishnu or his devotee for spiritual advancement in knowledge and for protection of hereditary and advancement of a dynasty. One should worship the various demigods. One who desires domination over a kingdom or an empire should worship the Manus. One who desires victory over an enemy should worship the demons. And one who desires sense gratification should worship the moon. But one who desires nothing of material enjoyment should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then we're coming to today's verse, so you can repeat after me. Akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo dadadi Divrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param Akama sarva kamo va moksha kamo dadadi Divrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Just in the interest of time, I'll miss out that I'll just go to the translation, just because then we can have more of a discussion. So this is the translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. A person who has broader intelligence, whether he be full of material desire, without any material desire, or desiring liberation, must by all means worship the Supreme Whole, the personality of Godhead. Purport. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna, is described in the Bhagavad Gita as Purushottama, or the Supreme Personality. It is He only who can award liberation to the impersonalists by absorbing such aspirants in the Brahmajyoti, in the bodily rays of the Lord. The Brahmajyoti is not separate from the Lord, as the glowing sun ray is not independent of the sun disk. Therefore, one who desires to merge into the supreme impersonal Brahmajyoti must also worship the Lord by Bhakti Yoga, as recommended here in Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhakti Yoga is especially stressed here as the means of all perfection. In the previous chapters, it has been stated that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal of both Karma Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And in the same way, in this chapter, it is emphatically declared that Bhakti Yoga is the ultimate goal of the different varieties of worship of the different demigods. Bhakti Yoga, thus being the supreme means of self-realization, is recommended here. Everyone must therefore seriously take up the methods of Bhakti Yoga, even though one aspires for material enjoyment or liberation from material bondage. An akama is one who has no material desire, a living being naturally being part and parcel of the Supreme Whole, Purusham Purnam, has as his natural function to serve the Supreme Being, just as the parts and parcels of the body or the limbs of the body are naturally meant to serve the complete body. Desireless means therefore not to be inert like the stone, but to be conscious of one's actual position and thus desire satisfaction only from the Supreme Lord. Srila Jiva Goswami has explained this desirelessness as bhajaniya, parama, purusha, sukhamatra sva sukhatvam in his sandarbha. This means that one should feel happy only by experiencing the happiness of the Supreme Lord. Excuse me. This intuition of the living being is sometimes manifested even during the conditioned stage of a living being in the material world, and such intuition is expressed in the manner of altruism, philanthropy, socialism, communism, etc. by the undeveloped minds of less intelligent persons. In the mundane field, such an outlook of doing good to others in the form of society, community, family, country, or humanity is a partial manifestation of the same original feeling in which a pure living entity feels happiness by the happiness of the Supreme Lord. Such superb feelings were exhibited by the damsels of Rajabhumi for the happiness of the Lord. The gopis loved the Lord without any return, and this is the perfect exhibition of the akama spirit. The kama spirit, or the desire for one's own satisfaction, is fully exhibited in the material world, whereas the spirit of akama is fully exhibited in the spiritual world. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop there because it's a longer purport, and sometimes when you read lots, then it doesn't register. So I'll just stop there. We'll have a little discussion and then we'll go further. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Dam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanda Radha Kanda Namostute Taptakanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada ki. Sukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, and there are an assembly of sages which have gathered at Sukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parikshit. He's not at Naimisharanya. Is at the bank of the Ganges. So there, many different personalities have assembled. And those different personalities are approaching the absolute truth in different ways, because everyone is an individual, and so everyone has different desires. And some are more spiritually pure than others. The Vedic system of spirituality is very, very advanced because it's multi-level spirituality. In many religions of the world, they will tell you, is this the truth, the way and the light, or option B, eternal damnation? Is one or the other. But in the Vedic system of spirituality, they say, it doesn't matter where you are, it doesn't matter what you want, we'll provide a way for you to achieve that in a spiritual way, by which gradually you will then go higher and higher and higher. And therefore, through this temple, every single day, people are streaming through, coming in front of Krishna, and they all have very, very different desires, isn't it? Some of their desires are very, very mundane. I want a house by the sea, a color TV, a 50 million gigabyte MP3, Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Yeah. So that's happening. We used to get, around exam time in the manor, we used to always get letters. And it would be like, Swamiji, my son's exams are coming up. Please find donation attached. So you could immediately understand what was the desire there. Yeah, so people are having desires. When one becomes more advanced, one realizes that where are these material desires taking me? Where are these material desires in actually their ability to fulfill my heart? After fulfilling all those material desires, you end up back to square one. He said that there was a husband and wife and a child, and one time a genie appeared to them and said, you got one wish each. So the husband was having like a difficult time in the family. So he got the first choice. So the genie said, what do you want? So the husband said, I want to go to the heavens and escape. So immediately, boom, he went to the heavens and he escaped. So he was up there in the heavens, like liberated from the struggle of family life, and he was happy. And then the genie said to the lady, what would you like? She said, I want to be in heaven with my husband. So he was up there having a great time, and then boom, she came. It's like, oh no. Okay. So anyway, at least we're in heaven. And then the genie came to the child and said to the child, what do you want? The child said, I just want my parents back. Boom, they both fell. And there they were, 3 wishes used, and back to square one. And then we realized life is like that. We tried for so many things. We petitioned Krishna, if only you give me this, then I will give you everything. And then we never keep our promise. And then we get everything, and then we realize, well, maybe there's something else. So when one becomes more spiritually in tune, then they realize what are all these material desires. So Sukadev says to Parikshit, yeah, if you want this, go to this demigod. If you want to go to this demigod. But what does Krishna say about those who worship the demigods in the Bhagavad Gita? Kameste sterita jnana prapadyante nyadevata. Krishna says their knowledge is stolen by material desires. They are alpamedasha. Srila Prabhupada says it in a nice way. They have a poor fund of knowledge. In other words, they're stupid. They have a poor fund of knowledge. So basically, here, what Sukadev Goswami is saying to Parikshit is that it doesn't matter. Even if you want material things, come to Krishna. Because what will happen is that gradually over time, all those desires for material things will disappear. Even if you desire liberation, even that will disappear. And then eventually all you'll want to do is to love Krishna. Broadly speaking, in this world, there are three types of people. Yeah? You can say there's the karmi, there's the jnani, and then there's the bhakta. The karmi is trying to enjoy the world. But then after some time, you kind of get frustrated by the world because it never works. And therefore, the jnani, what are they trying to do? Escape the world. They want liberation. They want out. According to them, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya, it's all false, it's all illusion, it all never worked. I just want to get out of here. But the bhakta is not even trying to enjoy the world or escape the world, but then what is the bhakta doing? The bhakta doesn't know how to use an iPad. Okay, let's see, how do I do this now? I have to start again. Oh no, it's not. I am not one for technology. Okay, let's start again. Here we go. The bhakta is trying to, yes, you had it right, engage with the world. Yeah? So the bhakta doesn't try to enjoy the world, doesn't try to escape the world. Bhakta just says this whole world is like an altar. It has all these different things and all of them can be used for Krishna. We often give the example that if you're walking down the street and someone drops their money, then you have three options. One is you take the money and spend it yourself. That's the karmi. The other one sees the money and says, no, it's not my money and it's not anyone's money, just leave it, and then walks away. That's the jnani. But the bhakta, what would they do? They'd go up to the person, identify the money and give it back to the person who it actually belongs to. And therefore that's what the bhakta does. They see that everything in this world is energy of Krishna, and therefore it should be used for Krishna's service. But how do you get there? It requires time because we all have different types of desires. Broadly speaking, in the Vedic tradition, there is a hierarchy of desires. You can say like the lowest type of person is the Ugra Karmi. What they're basically trying to do is to harm the world. Isn't it? Krishna says in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, what is that? Asatyam apratistam te jagatahur anishvaram etam drishtim avashtabhya nastatmanolpa buddhaya prabhavantyagra karmana kshayaya jagato hita. Those people who have an incredibly material vision of life, they are engaged in horrible, terrible works which will ultimately destroy the world. And if you're unsure who that is, just turn on the TV and watch the news and see what people are doing around the world. So there's the Ugra Karmi, and then it said a little higher than the Ugra Karmi is the Vikarmi. And the Vikarmi is basically trying to exploit the world, but they may not be as harmful as the Ugra Karmi. And then a little bit higher than the Vikarmi is the Karmi. And basically they're just trying to enjoy the world, and oftentimes they do it in a religious way. But then later on one becomes a jnani, and the jnani is now no longer trying to enjoy the world, but they're trying to, as we say, escape the world. And later on, higher than that we can say is the yogi. Of course the jnani is a yogi as well, but the yogi is more consciously trying to purify themselves and connect. And then ultimately there is the bhakta. And the bhakta is not trying to do any of these things in the pure sense. What is the bhakta ultimately trying to do? Yeah, they're trying to serve and love. That's it. But to get there may take some time. And therefore, Krishna says, or here we're reading, Sukadeva is saying to Parikshit, that it doesn't matter where you are. If someone engages in the process of devotional service, then what will happen is that over time, they will become more and more purified. Because many things happen when you begin devotional service. Of course, anarthas start being removed. But the amazing thing that happens when you begin devotional service, when you begin bhakti, is that you get in contact with bhaktas. And the association of bhaktas is incredibly dangerous for your material life. Because when you get in association with devotees, they tell you, don't worry, you don't have to change anything, just add a bit of Krishna. Just chant one round a day. You don't have to do more than that. And before you know it, they have hijacked your whole life. I call the devotees the agents of Vamandev. Because Vamandev did exactly the same thing, isn't it? Bali said, what do you want? You can have anything. I don't need much. Just give me 3 steps of land. Just 3 steps. Why don't you take more? No, we are satisfied. We don't have so many desires. And then with those 3 steps, what did he do? He took away everything. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada, he did say once, I think it was Tamal Krishna Maharaj, Prabhupada told him to go to India to preach. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj said, I'll go anywhere. I'll go to the heavens, I'll go to the hells, but I don't want to go to India. And Prabhupada said, why? And Tamal Krishna Maharaj, I think it was Tamal Krishna Maharaj, or maybe someone else, he said, because Indians are too tricky. Prabhupada said, I'm an Indian. He said, no, not you. I mean, Prabhupada. And then Prabhupada said, no, you're right. I am also tricky because I tricked you. I tricked you. So if you're not aware, all of you sitting in this room are being tricked. We're all being tricked because we don't want to. We are unwilling. We're dragging our feet. We don't really want to surrender. But somehow or other, by the grace of the devotees, we're here. And by their association, it said, Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula Hoya Sadhu Sang Krishna Prema Janma Tehom Punamokya Ang. That the Krishna Bhakti Janma Mula, the root cause of association, of Krishna Bhakti arising within the heart, is that you have association of devotees. So it will happen. But in this verse, there is a very, very important word. You see this word? Tivraina. I don't know if anyone here is a musician, knows music, but someone once told me there's a note in music called a tivra, is it? There's a note, right? And it's like the most intense note, is it? It's like a very sharp note. Okay, so it's a very powerful note. What's it called? Tivra Ma. Okay, so there you go. So I thought that was quite interesting. So basically, Tivra means intense, dense, severe, serious, forceful. If you want devotional service to really work, if you want the real fruit of devotional service, then you have to do Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. Because otherwise, what does the Chaitanya Charitamrita say? Bahu janma kare jadi shravana kirtan tabutana paya Krishna pade prema dhan. Chaitanya Charitamrita says, Bahu janma, for many lifetimes, shravana kirtan, you can engage in shravan kirtan. But tabutana paya Krishna pade prema dhan. If you don't do it in the right way, you will not achieve love for Krishna. Sometimes people say, I don't know, I've been chanting for so long, but it's not happening, it's not working, it doesn't transform. Forget that, forget years, you can be doing it for Bahu Janma. If you don't do it in the right way, it won't bear the fruit. Therefore, Today I just want to discuss with you, what does it mean to practice intense devotional service? And I want to ask you, what do you think would be a classic sign of the difference between someone practicing casual devotional service and someone practicing intense devotional service? Can you give me a classic sign? Yeah, we see hands. Yeah, Prabhu. Mindfulness. So one who's casual is kind of doing it, but they're absent-minded. Their mind is in 100 different places, and somehow or other they've figured out the way to chant 16 rounds while doing 16 million other things at the same time. That is a mystic siddhi. Once I saw two devotees speaking to each other, and they both had their hands in their bead bag, and while one was speaking, the other one was chanting. And then when he finished, then he started speaking, he started chanting. So it was quite interesting. They were doing Krishna Katha and Krishna Kirtan at the same time, which was powerful, I have to say. Thank you. What are the other signs of casual, yes? Our attitude, and what is the attitude of a casual practitioner compared to an intense practitioner? Okay. So the goal of the devotional service, the goal of the practice, for one who's casual, their goal is not the right goal. But for one in intense devotional service, their goal is, yes, I must achieve Krishna. Yes, I must please Krishna. Yes, I must purify my heart. But in casual devotional service, we are looking at, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, but we are serving and we're like, more dhanam, more janam, more sundarim. We're looking for so many side benefits. Yeah, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, Daranga Rangini, Vishaya Sangara, he says that while you're practicing, you're looking for so many side benefits and your attention is focused more on that than the goal. Nice point, thank you. From the Mataji side, what do you think is the difference between casual and intense? Or are all of you so intense that you've never seen casual devotional service in this lifetime, that it's impossible for you to identify what that may be like? Any ideas? Okay, we'll give you a bit of time. Okay, yes. Apathetic. Can you explain more what you mean by that? Oh, okay, yeah, that's a great one. Yeah, you have no plan, you have no goal, there's no goals, like to go higher. It's just like, I am what I am. It's like, what's your plan for the next year? Well, I'm just going to carry on. No, but what's your plan? What do you want to read more? Do you want to chant more? What do you want to improve? What bad qualities do you want to get rid of? There's no vision, there's no plan. But when you're intense, there's planning. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says every 2 weeks on Ekadashi, one should make a plan for what they're going to do in the next 2 weeks of their spiritual life to up the game. Thank you, nice point. Anyone else? What's the difference? Yes, Prabhu. Intention, yes, good. The intense person is filled with more humility. There's more of a sense that as you become more intense, you actually, simultaneously, you're realizing how far you are from the goal. You're feeling yourself to be very small, very insignificant, and that's driving. Whereas in casual, you think like, I'm doing good. Just see, I am there. There's a sense of complacency because one has pride, and one thinks, yeah, I'm doing really good. But an intense person realizes, no, I have so much more, so far from the goal. nice. Thank you. Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, so in the symptoms of bhava, Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is explaining the symptoms of one who has bhav. And right in the beginning, what does he say? Kshantir avyartha kalatvam viraktir mana shunyata ashabandha samutkantha namagane sadaruchi. In the very first line he says avyartha kalatvam, they can't bear to waste a moment of time. There's no time wasting. In casual devotional service, we're kind of like shooting the breeze, like, yeah, it's okay. You gotta be balanced, Prabhu. In ISKCON, they have a euphemism, PDS. You know that one? Do they have that in Toronto? Pure devotee syndrome. Don't try to be a pure, look at him, he's very intense, he's got pure devotee syndrome, you know. Just relax, you know. So anyway, we could have a long conversation about this, but these are some of you already mentioned them. I look for excuses. When you're in a casual devotional service, you're looking for excuses not to do your I really wanted to, but what can I do? My life is like this. Whereas when you're in intense devotional service, some things are so important, I have to eliminate the obstacle, not justify my substandard practice because there are obstacles. That's the difference. I have no quality remembrance, you said that one. My mind frequently wanders. The primary motivation is fulfillment. Can you see? Yeah, you basically got all of them, most of them, and there could be many, many more. Please, of course, this is also for me. I'm not sitting here as a pure devotee with pure devotee syndrome, trying to preach to you. It's for me as well. But please, deeply, deeply think about this. Take some time today, go home, and really ask yourself, am I casual? Am I intense? What can I do to become more intense? Because Divrena, Bhakti Yogena, without that level of quality, we won't get the real fruit of what is available here. Maybe we'll be nice, we'll be pious, we'll pick up a lot of bhakti credits on the way, but at the end of life, it won't be enough. It won't be enough because we have to be conquered by Krishna's love. And to be conquered by Krishna's love requires a pure heart. And the pure heart will only arise in the fire of devotional service. And so these are points which I'm sharing with you, just for you to kind of consider. I'm just looking at the time, it's 8:40. There could be many more things I could share, but I think what I'll do at this point is just stop. And I guess we have like 10 minutes, is that, yeah, I don't want to hold you from your intense day of devotional service, which I'm sure you have lined up. I don't want to waste your time. But I guess we can, it's nice to have a bit of feedback from you, just to let it all land, so you can digest. So yeah, if anyone has any questions or comments or, yes, Prabhu. Yeah, definitely, yeah. Like there's a sense when we come to the Hare Krishna movement that in the beginning we see that everyone is a pure devotee. And in one sense that's very nice because it's always good to look for the good. But later on we realize that even in the Krishna consciousness movement there are various levels of devotees. And it's not for us to look down on anyone because we appreciate anyone who's practicing is a great soul. But within the Sangha of devotees, one has to search out those who are actually sincere, those who are actually moving forward, those who are actually trying to purify their heart, because whatever company you keep, that is going to mold your own desires and aspirations. And therefore, we live in London, and one time the Swami Narayan sadhus, I don't know, you have Swami Narayan here in Toronto, I'm sure you do. So they had come to the manor, so I was having a conversation with one of them, and they said, oh yeah, we also read Bhagavatam. So I said, oh wow. I said, for you, which is the most important verse in Bhagavatam? I asked him. And he quoted a very beautiful verse from the 3rd canto of the Bhagavatam, and he said, for us, this is the most important verse in Bhagavatam. And the verse goes like this. Prashanga majaram pasham atmana kavayo vidu sa eva sadhushu krito mokshadvaram apavritam. He said this for us is the most important verse in Bhagavatam. And what does the verse say? Prashangam ajaram pasham. Attachment to materialistic people is the greatest source of entanglement. Saeva sadhushu krito. But when you transfer that attachment to a sadhu, to a saintly person, if you become attached to a sadhu, moksha dvaram apavritam, the doors to liberation open. So it was a very nice point that if you become attached to a saintly person, isn't it? There's that famous story Prabhupada was saying, like, he was on the Vyasasana and he said, you can go back to Godhead, just become 90% Krishna conscious. And everyone was like, 90%? Prabhupada said, okay, just become 60% Krishna conscious. And they were looking at themselves like, even that, you know. Prabhupada said, okay, 50 and no less. And even then, everyone was having their doubts. And then Prabhupada said, don't worry. Just hang on to my dhoti. I have the backdoor key to the spiritual world. So yes, that is our saving grace. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakati ache. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is singing that. Oh, saintly Vaishnava, Krishna is yours. Therefore, Krishna dite paro, you have the power to give him to me. Therefore, Kandiya, Kandiya, I'm running, I'm crying, I'm running behind you, and I'm begging, give me Krishna, give me Krishna. So yes, one must become attached, one must stay close to the pure devotees. Hang on. They'll push you, even when you don't want to go. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was distributing books in the communist countries, and then he came to Prabhupada's rooms. He was like risking his life to distribute books in the communist countries. He came into the room, Prabhupada called him over, Prabhupada began rubbing his head. Prabhupada said, the service you are doing, you've become so dear to my spiritual master. Bhakti Tirtha Swami was crying. And then Bhakti Tirtha Swami said to Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, I didn't want to do it, but I did it because you pushed me. And Prabhupada said, my spiritual master pushed me, and I'm pushing you. And in the future you will push others. And like one train carriage pulls another, and they go all the way back to Godhead, that's how it will work. So, if you have a devotee in your life who you're attached to, who's very close to Krishna, who pushes you, because we don't want to go. But then when a pure devotee will push you, then it's like, what to do? Because I love them, I'll do it. I don't want to do it. But then they take you to Krishna. So we need to have quality sadhu sangha. So search out the saints. And there are many saints in this movement. I used to think saints were people of the past. The people you read about in Chaitanya Charitamrita, they're the saints. And then I lived in this movement and I'm like, my God, there are saints living around you. Lo and behold, there are probably a few saints in ISKCON Toronto, if not many. Maybe they don't have a position, maybe they don't have a danda or a big title or an institutional mark, but they're very saintly because they're giving their heart to Krishna. So try to find out such Vaishnavas. Take shelter. I'm a real person, not just a hologram. Not just a box on Zoom. Krishna works in weird and wonderful ways. Sometimes Krishna will fulfill your desire materially, and then you'll get the realization, no. Sometimes Krishna will deny you, and then sometimes Krishna will instill you with a desire which trumps that other desire. So it's not stereotyped. Krishna works with different devotees in different ways. Krishna knows what we need. And so Krishna is like the expert doctor. He pulls out the operation according to what individual needs. So yeah, Srila Prabhupada said, first Krishna gave me his mercy by taking everything away. Isn't it? Prabhupada was in Vrindavan. He said, I'm all alone in Vrindavan Dham. Where are my family? Where are my possessions? Yasyaham anugrinami harishe tadhanam shane. When Krishna especially favors someone, he takes everything away. Prabhupada was in Vrindavan in 1959. He said, Krishna has shown me the naked form of the material energy. He's taken everything away. And then later on, Prabhupada said, Krishna gave me everything. Gave me temples, gave me disciples, gave me a worldwide movement. But in both situations, Prabhupada was exactly the same. That's gratitude. Some people think gratitude is when, real gratitude is, can you be grateful in all situations, in adversity and prosperity. So Krishna at different times, he may do different things. Therefore you'll find both statements in Shastra. That sometimes Krishna will say, why should I give them their material desires? That's foolish. I will give them something much better. And then sometimes Krishna does. To Dhruva, he fulfilled his material desires. Dhruva was like, no. He's like, no, take it now. You asked for it. And then what did Dhruva realize? Sthana bilasi tapasi stitoham tvam praptavan deva muni drakuyam kacham vichinvan abhidivya ratnam svamin kritartho smivaram nayache. Sthana, abhilas, I had a desire to get a great kingdom. Tapasi stitoham, and therefore I engaged in all this tapasya. Tvam praptavan deva muni draguyam, and then I saw you, who even the devas and the munis cannot see. And then I realized, kacham. Many of you are Gujaratis, you know. Kach means glass. I was searching for broken glass, and instead, api divya ratnam, I discovered a beautiful jewel. So he gave it. But he realized broken glass. Broken glass has two characteristics. Number one is dangerous, and number two is absolutely useless. That's what material benedictions are. They're dangerous because they divert you, and they're useless because they'll never fulfill your heart. So, who knows? Krishna, Yatra Yogeshwara, he's a master of mystics. He's doing some operation. He's like a chess player. I finally realized in my life, Krishna is the master chess player. Because like all those guys like Kasparov and all them, the best chess players, they can think like 10 moves ahead, isn't it? They already figured out all the permutations. But Krishna is thinking like 1,000 moves ahead. And he's moving the pieces. You have no idea, like, where's this going? But Krishna is like 100 steps ahead. Okay, there are more hands. I don't mind going, but you have to tell me, like, should I stop? Or if someone needs to leave, then please don't feel like, be relaxed. You can. We'll take a, yeah. Okay. I didn't quite understand, like, so you're saying while we're doing our sadhana? Oh, like while you're chanting, how important is it to be thinking about the goal of realizing Krishna? Yes, we should chant consciously, like George Harrison says, I really want to see you, I really want to see you. So while we're chanting, we should have remembrance of the goal. When we're chanting, Krishna says it should be like the cry of a child for the mother. So the child knows, I'm crying. I'm not just crying, I'm crying for the mother. He's thinking of the mother. Otherwise, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji says, if a woman just simply imitates the labor pains, the sound of labor pains, it's not that she will give birth to a child. He says you can't just, chanting without remembering the goal is like firing blanks, isn't it? If a policeman has a gun and they just have blanks, then it makes a lot of noise, but it doesn't hit anything, it doesn't do anything. So chanting is something like that. It's sometimes a lot of noise, but if there's no remembrance, no contemplation. Therefore, in the beginning, we're trying to bring our physical capacities by chanting clearly, by being awake. Then we're trying to bring our mind by bringing the remembrance of the goal. And then eventually we're trying to bring the heart and some desperation. If you have to focus on just 3 things in life, what should they be? It's good that you can do 3. Some people may just have said 1. So you have capacity for 3 things. So you're asking, what should we focus on? Well, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Jiva Doya, Krishna Nam, Vaishnava Seva. Let the holy name become very, very important to you. Invest in your relationship with the holy name. At the end of life, that's what's going to count. And then Vaishnava Seva, serve the devotees. Shan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirthani Shevana. From that, great service is done, great purification, great mercy. If you become attached to a devotee, then Krishna will definitely look. Now we are coming to Radhastami, we're remembering Srimati Radharani. Yes, if you become attached, if you get Srimati Radharani's mercy, Krishna has to be favorable. So therefore serve the devotees will take you to Krishna. And then Jivadaya, be kind, serve others, be compassionate. Then your heart becomes more sensitive, then your heart becomes more soft. So many people around us are suffering. So we should try to do something. And when we do that, great blessings come. Krishna says, Nachatasman manusheshu kashkin me priyakritama. If you help others, you become very dear to me. So we have so much opportunity to serve others, help people, be kind. And Krishna will surely look at you, be attracted. So there you go, 3 things. And if you ask me on another day, I'd probably say 3 different things. But it's all absolute, it's all beautiful. Because once you do these 3 things, you'll want to do all the other millions of things that are available. Because Krishna will trick you. Every life has its obstacles. If you're living in the world, you have obstacles. If you live in the ashram, you have obstacles. All the grihastas want to renounce. And all the renunciates want to get married. Not all of them, some of them. Because the grass is always greener on the other side. But no, the grass is greener where you water it. Therefore, one mentality is to see problems in every opportunity, and the other mentality is to see opportunities in every problem. You can see that by being in family life, by being surrounded by so many obstacles, that is giving you a great chance to show your sincerity. When there are obstacles, when there are resistance, that is very good. Like say for example, I wanted to build up my muscles and I just decided to keep lifting my mobile phone every day. Like I'm going to do 100 of these. Yeah, there's not going to be much because there's no resistance. But as soon as there's resistance and you still try, that resistance becomes the catalyst to the development of muscle. And so we have to understand that all of those obstacles are strategically placed by Krishna to help you become more sincere. And so when those obstacles of time, those obstacles of responsibility, those obstacles of distraction come, then it's an opportunity for you to go deeper and for you to then ask yourself, how can I become stronger so I don't become overcome by these things? So let us see the opportunity in all situations. And a final thing I would say on a practical level is I'm not going to say you're old, but you're older, you're established in your life more. You know, there are individuals in this room who are younger, they've got a whole life ahead of them, they have to create, but you're situated in the world now, you know, to some level Krishna has given you security. So try now to create a life in which you begin to simplify it. Try to create a life in which you start to create more room for yourself. As we go through our 30s, 40s, 50s, Krishna says, Panchasurdhvam vanam brajait. At 50, you have to go to the forest. I won't do a survey and ask who's over 50. But that's the idea. Now, you may not go to the forest, but what it does mean is that at the age of 50, you need to start winding down. You need to start closing up a few things. And you need to start opening up more room for Krishna, more room for reading and chanting, more room to get absorbed, because 50, and then before you know it, you're 60, and then before you know it, you're 70, and then you begin thinking, the countdown is there. And then will we have enough absorption, Ante Narayana Smriti, to remember Krishna at the end? A wise person will realize, time is coming, let me now start winding down. And that doesn't mean you have to do anything kamikaze. You don't have to up and leave one day and take sannyas. You can if you want, but it may not be recommended. But you can gradually do it. So think about that. Let us make some space for Krishna in our life. It's up to us. We say there's no space in our life for Krishna because there's too many demands. But we were the one who made all those decisions. Krishna didn't create that life. We created it. Once one of my friends, he became an investment banker. He was really doing well. And then he bought this huge house. And then later on he came to me, he said like, my God, like, I have to work so hard to maintain this. And he came to the realization himself that he created this situation. Whereas he was earning well. He could have just, kept it realistic and coasted. But then he created this whole complexity which then we have to serve. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, simple living, high thinking. And the world today is simply living, hardly thinking. So we have to be conscious about the decisions we're making, because your decisions determine your destiny. That's the reality. We make all these decisions, and then you have to live with them. So be careful what decisions you make, because life is valuable. Durlabhamana janama labhya samsare. It came after a long time. We should not waste the opportunity. Okay, I think there could be more questions, but I think we should wrap it up. Otherwise, I'll never get invited back again. And I don't want that to happen. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.